at radiovermont.com.
The energy.
So this guy in the fantasy baseball chat is just ripping me. He's calling me names for how I handled my team. Buddy, you had 20 weeks for your own team to play better. Don't be mad at me.
The passion.
Mac Jones is fighting not just for his Patriots job, but he very well may be fighting for his NFL future.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
For the Red Sox, it can't always be about next year. It can't always be about down the road. Where's the team that battles for now?
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show back at it on a Thursday here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. We're up until 6:15 tonight, and then we have Red Sox baseball game 2 of a doubleheader against the Yankees. Red Sox won game 1 by a score of 5-0. Trevor Story, Ceddanne Rafaela had homers. Wilger Abreu had an RBI single. Absolutely none of that matters today. The Red Sox are now a game ahead of the Yankees in the standings. The Red Sox are in 4th place. The Yankees are in last place. That matters only minimally today. The big story of the day is the one you heard about all broadcasts. It's the one you've read about on social media, and that is that Chaim Bloom fired by Red Sox ownership earlier today. I can't say that I'm completely surprised that Bloom is gone. I am surprised that Bloom is gone now. I am surprised that Bloom is gone before the season ended. I could have easily justified giving Bloom another year, giving Bloom a make-or-break offseason, but nonetheless, Chaim Bloom is gone, and it's not a total surprise. We knew that he was kind of skating on thin ice. You had read what I had read. You had heard what I had heard. Buster had told us over and over again, people aren't really happy what's going on, and this is the culmination of it. Chaim Bloom fired. 802-585-3026. That's the text line for your voice to be heard. Trust me, I have thoughts. I want yours as well. Danny is here also. Danny, we got 45 minutes until the Red Sox take the field again. Let's just get as much as we can done.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber, now also in Rouse's Point, New York. They are live over there on the other side of the lake. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. We will talk about Chaim Bloom. Before we talk about him and the job that he did or didn't do, I have to stay here. The Red Sox ownership group has continued once again their pattern of handling things shamefully. Again, you can say Chaim Bloom doesn't deserve to be here. You can want Chaim Bloom fired. I will listen. I will debate. I will talk. I will reconcile all of that. That said, the Red Sox today continued a pattern of ownership and of upper management of handling things and situations and people shamefully. And I am over it. As thankful as I am for the Red Sox ownership group to have brought you titles in 2004 and 2007 and 2013 and 2018, as excited and thankful as I am for that, I am over how they have handled treating people who have been in positions of power. The Red Sox did this to Ben Cherington. They did this to Dave Dombrowski. And now, yes, as much as you don't like Chaim Bloom, they've done it to him. Red Sox ownership has a pattern, a now well-established pattern of bringing in someone who does exactly what they want and then making them fall on the sword for it. I do not like that as a business practice. And as we get down the road towards the offseason, we talk about candidates and how attractive this job is and all that, that is going to be my number one red flag. That you get brought in to be a Red Sox general manager or a chief baseball officer, you do exactly what the organization wants, and then you pay the price for it. And that bothers me to no end. I'm not saying Chaim Bloom wasn't a problem, but the ownership group's handling of things repeatedly is a problem. Ben Cherington comes in, gets told to build the farm system. He does it. A lot of the guys who were here in 2018 are Ben Cherington guys. He builds the farm system. The team's not winning quick enough. They can him. They asked Dave Dombrowski to come in and spend and pick up and finish the deal that Ben Cherington started. He did it. He traded away prospects. He spent. They win the World Series in 2018, and then they can him in 2019 for not having enough prospects and for spending too much. I didn't agree with that, and I don't agree with the handling of this with Chaim Bloom. Because with Chaim Bloom, the Red Sox ownership group asked him to come in, asked him to build the farm system, asked him to win with more homegrown guys, AK cheap, asked him to trim payroll, and asked him to build up the system. They asked him to get younger and more athletic. He does that, or he's in the process of doing that, and they can him too. This frustrates me to no end. Again, I'm not here to just be a Chaim Bloom apologist. There are things Chaim Bloom did that I didn't like, and there are things Chaim Bloom did that I don't agree with, and we will get into that. But if you think that this is all Chaim Bloom's fault, and if you think Chaim Bloom is the only guy that looks bad today, you are wrong. The ownership does it too. I am frustrated with the Red Sox because this, to me, is the organization's number one problem. They don't commit. They don't fully commit. And it took me a while to fully realize this, but this is the number one problem with the Red Sox. They'll tell you they have a plan, and then they abandon that plan before it's ready to fully develop. They asked Ben Cherington to come in and build up the system. And I can't remember everybody that's a Ben Cherington guy, but the guys that developed under him, we're talking about Devers, and we're talking about Benintendi, and we're talking about Mookie, and we're talking about Bogarts. Okay, a lot of the core of 2018 started out as a Ben Cherington guy, and they didn't give him time to see it through. They canned him and said, hey, you've done a lot of what we want, but we're pulling the plug. They didn't give him the plan or the length of time or the runway to see if the plan worked. They went and pivoted to Dave Dombrowski. Now, Dave Dombrowski inherited a fairly good situation, obviously, because Ben Cherington had built it up. Then he goes out and he spends, right? He trades the prospects. He gives up Moncada. He gives up Kopech. He goes and gets Sale, who helps them win in 2018. He signs David Price, who he'd had in Detroit. So he spends money hand over fist, right? He acquires Craig Kimbrell, who helps him in 2018. All of these moves are Dombrowski moves. He does exactly what the organization wants. He wins the World Series. He validates what Ben Cherington had done to a degree, and they eventually say, you know what? Yeah, we won. Thank you. We're out on your way now, too. So they don't want to be the farm system rebuild Red Sox. They don't want to be the spend hand over fist Red Sox. So they go back to Bloom and say, hey, let's do it the Cherington way. And like Cherington, they can him too before it ends. I am getting tired of Red Sox executives being told to set the table and buy all the ingredients and make the meal, but then not actually get to eat it. It's not great from a business perspective. And while most fans, and I am a fan too, while most fans today are focused on win-loss records and all that, do not think that Chaim Bloom is the only guy at fault here. How the Red Sox handle things and how they have handled things and their lack of ability and desire to stick to a plan has been shameful. And also, make no mistake on this. 802-585-3026. I'm going to get to your text. Make no mistake on this. Nearly everything, not all of it, but nearly everything that happened under Chaim Bloom, that everyone's blaming only Chaim Bloom for, has been approved by ownership. They wanted a lot of this. They asked him to trim payroll. I see everybody saying, oh, now the Red Sox could spend money on free agents. It's not only Chaim Bloom's desire to not spend money on free agents. The Red Sox don't want to spend money on free agents. Sam Kennedy and John Henry don't want to spend money on free agents. They did get Trevor Story. They did get Yoshida. They got generally cut rates on those guys. Okay, why didn't they get Marcus Semien here? Because they didn't want to pay him. Why didn't they keep Xander Bogaerts here? Because they didn't want to pay him. Why is Mookie Betts gone? Because they didn't want to pay him. Those are not only Chaim Bloom decisions. Those are ownership decisions. Chaim Bloom falls on the sword for it, but those are ownership decisions. Ownership brings in Bloom and says trade Mookie Betts. He did it. Ownership comes in and says trim payroll. Boom, he attaches David Price to the Mookie Betts deal and gets out of half the money. I believe at the time it was $64 million left. He gets out of half of it, so there's only $32 million left. They ask him, like he did in Tampa, to find value guys. So he goes and finds Kike Hernandez, who was great in 21. And he finds Christian Arroyo, who had some great moments. And he finds Garrett Whitlock in the Rule 5 draft. Chaim Bloom found Justin Turner this year. A lot of the guys that the Red Sox asked him to go and find. He did all of that. And his reward for doing what they said to do is to get canned. We can talk about his very specific player acquisition, but the process is exactly what Red Sox ownership wanted. And I'm tired of seeing Red Sox ownership, have a plan, move off the plan, and blame somebody else for a plan that they initially wanted. And once more, it's disgusting that John Henry, again, is nowhere to be found. We have not seen John Henry in public, I believe, since before COVID. I want to say COVID season 2020, when we were down in Fort Myers, before the pandemic shut everything down, that was the last time we saw John Henry. You're the owner of the team. You're telling us through third parties that you're still invested in the team and that your other Fenway Sports Group things, Liverpool and the Pittsburgh Penguins, aren't taking priority over the Red Sox. But yet, when you make a humongous organizational decision, you're nowhere to be found, and you haven't been anywhere to be found for the last several years. You leave Sam Kennedy today with the media on an island to speak solely for the organization. Come on. That is ridiculous. You are the owner of a huge billion-dollar business, and you can't show your face. And yet Chaim Bloom is the guy who has to take all the arrows because you won't show up in public. And for Sam Kennedy, it was disgusting for me to hear him talk about this today. Danny, give me Sam Kennedy cut number 2.
This is a really painful day for a lot of reasons, especially the personal side of it. And there's blame to go around. There's blame on me, our ownership. There's blame for that on-field staff deserves blame. I'm sure some of the players would say they haven't performed up to expectations. We all fell short of our collective goal, so there's a lot of blame to go around.
Danny, I gave you the wrong cut. I'm mad at cut 3 more than cut 2. Give me cut 3 from Sam Kennedy.
I think there's alignment around the ultimate goal, which is, like I said, playing baseball in October and winning World Series championships. How you get there, there's obviously going to be disagreement, and the best organizations challenge, push, question. So that goes on all the time here.
Don't make it sound, the best organizations challenge, push. No, you have a plan, and you bring in some lackey to execute your plan, and then you make them fall on the sword. That's what this is. This is the Red Sox from a business perspective. This is their business practice. They bring in somebody to be a puppet to do exactly what they want, and then when the backlash comes, they can that guy, pin it on him, when it's really what they wanted all along. The Red Sox wanted to win the World Series in 2018. The Dombrowski did that. And then it wasn't good enough because he had spent too much money. Come on, you approved the money spending. You wanted him to spend the money. You wanted the title. And then you said, okay, we don't want that anymore, too much. So now you bring in Bloom and you say, hey, do what he did, but do it on a budget. And now when it didn't work, you tell us that it's all, you're showing us today by firing him that it's his fault. It's not his fault entirely. It's not his fault entirely. It's ownership. And then today, finally, to do this today of all days continues the shameful nature of it. Before a doubleheader? I mean, my goodness, how blind to how bad optically this is can you be if you're the Red Sox ownership? Why? Because you've hung your manager and your players out to dry twice now. Twice today. Okay, you want to protect your players, you want to protect your manager a little bit from this stuff, but so you go and do it today, knowing there's going to be 2 post-game media scrums, 2 post-game press conferences? Ridiculous. I get you didn't want to wait till the end of the season because you wanted to get a head start on other candidates. You wanted to vet other people, and the Mets just made their hires. So now you're a little bit worried about, okay, who's actually going to be out there? We don't want to wait 3 weeks. I can understand that. But doing it today made 0 sense because your players have 2 chances to get asked about it. Your manager has 2 chances to get asked about it. I just completely disagree with this. I find it completely disgusting. This, to me, doing it today, right now, seems like a completely fan face-saving move. Right? We've fallen into a tie for last place. The fans are checking out. It's Patriots season. People are moving on. It's going to be Celtics season. It's going to be Bruins season. What can we do to stay in the news? I got it. We can fire Chaim Bloom today. That's exactly what this seems to me. The fan drumbeat got loud. And then the fans started to go away, and the ownership group said, how can we get the eyeballs back on us? And so this is what they came up to. This is what they came up with. Text line open, 802-585-3026. Texter says, don't forget how they mishandled things with Theo Epstein. Also, don't forget what they did with John Farrell. You are right about ownership. I will say this. Theo Epstein predates my Red Sox knowledge, really, as far as the particulars. You're right. I remember reading about Theo in the gorilla suit and wanting to leave, right? He wanted to leave after 2005, then he ended up getting the job back. Not good. That predates my real knowledge, so I won't speak on it a ton. But there was clearly disagreement there with Theo and ownership the first time around it when he wanted to leave in 2005. And then as far as Farrell goes, a guy who had won the World Series in 2013, had gotten to the playoffs, as I recall, in 2016. I remember the first year I was here, they got to the playoffs, and I want to say they lost against Cleveland, and Big Papi had the really bad feet and ended up retiring the year after that. So, yeah, they fired Farrell after a run to the playoffs. Not a great track record from ownership here. And, again, how attractive is this job? Well, it's the Boston Red Sox. It's a chief baseball officer's job or a general manager job. It's very, very attractive. There's a lot of young pieces here. But my number one question would be, what's the expiration date on me? And do I really want to go down that road? Do I really want to go down that road and being hired and being a guy with an expiration date? It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Chaim Bloom and the Red Sox, number one problem. I said it 3 years ago. I'm mad at myself that I deviated from it. I'm reminded of it today. I'll tell you what the biggest problem for Chaim Bloom and the Red Sox was under his leadership. We'll do it next on DEV.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Waterbury invites you to think local, buy local, and be local by experiencing our many recreational opportunities with something for everyone in your group. You can hike, bike, walk, run, paddle, skate, and stroll, and even swim in Waterbury. Between the Perry Hill Bike Trails, Little River State Park, and Waterbury Reservoir, there's year-round fun for all levels. Our small businesses and colorful mix of restaurants have everything you need to create an unforgettable experience. Even your dog will have a great time.
Brave Coffee and Tea has been providing fresh roasted coffees and hand-picked organic teas from our roastery in Waterbury since 2013. We are dedicated to creating flavors that will fit your tastes. Whether you buy it at your local grocery store, your favorite coffee shop, or use our online subscription service, there is always something to satisfy your cravings. Be bold, be brave, be unstoppable. Visit our website at bravecoffee.com to purchase or find your nearest retailer. Brave Coffee. Better coffee, better life.
Always on time signs and design. Original and customized signs and designs that catch your eye and promote your business. And for all applications, commercial signs, safety and highway signs, banners, vehicle wraps, window, wall, and floor graphics, and much more. They do it all. Design, construction, and commercial installation. You'll be impressed by their customized designs and quick service, and you'll love their competitive prices. Always on time signs and design in Berlin. AlwaysOnTimeSigns.com.
For your next celebration, head to Stowe Beverage at the Gale Farm Center on the Mountain Road in Stowe. See their huge selection of beers and wines. Questions about beers? Just ask. They have the biggest microbrewery selection in Central Vermont. Find all the sales on selected wines and beers. They're a state liquor store, too, and have the biggest selection around. Stowe Beverage and State Liquor Store at the Gale Farm Center on the Mountain Road in Stowe. Ask the experts at Stowe Beverage. They're here to help.
New England Municipal Resource Center. NEMRIC, a company that recognizes the value of Vermont and all things local, municipalities, businesses, and WDEV. Do you love a bargain? Then the WDEV Trading Post online marketplace is for you. Get great deals on goods and services from local businesses, furniture, gift certificates, recreation discounts. You'll never know what you'll find. All deals are at a reduced price. Save money, and maybe you'll discover something new. The offerings and prices are constantly changing, so check back regularly at tradingpostmarketplace.com.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Glenn in Brookfield says, great intro, Brady. I agree with everything you said. Well done. That's not often that somebody agrees with everything I said. So thank you very much, Glenn. Much appreciated. I was talking to Danny in the commercial break, and he says, it seems like the Red Sox, wanted a small market guy, and then they bring in this small market guy, and then they pivot. Here's the dirty secret on the Red Sox. This is a cycle that they are in. Okay, this is a cyclical decision the Red Sox make. Okay, Cherington built it all up. That wasn't working, or it didn't work quick enough. The fan base got restless. They pivoted to a guy in Dombrowski who's going to spend like a drunken sailor. They win. Then they were spending too much. Then they go back to the first guy. It's not working quick enough. Everybody's getting angry. And now, look, the next guy is going to come in and be allowed to spend. And everybody's going to praise that guy for being the anti-Chaim Bloom, when really it's ownership just saying, hey, we got to keep the fans happy for a couple of years. And if they win a World Series in the 3 or 4 years that this guy's there, then they're eventually going to say, okay, let's trim payroll again. That's where they're going to go. That's what's going to happen. That is how this plays out. If the Red Sox win the World Series, everybody will kind of forget about this pattern for a little while, but this is the pattern. The next guy is going to come in and spend and be allowed to spend. I'm confident in that. And if it works, then great. If it turns into what the Yankees have had in Carlos Rodon, and if it turns into what happened with Javi Baez for the Tigers, people are going to want to run that guy out of town. So this is where the Red Sox are at right now. This is, Tex says, I think they should keep Cora. Yeah, we're going to talk about Cora here in a minute. Well, we're going to do that too, but we're going to do that in the 6 o'clock hour. So this is the number one problem with the Red Sox under Chaim Bloom's direction, and it's the number one problem with the Red Sox in general. And I kind of got to it in there at the first part, or in the first part of the show. It is impossible to try to do both things at once. Okay? And Chaim Bloom was forced into a situation that was nearly unwinnable. And I said that in 2021 when the Red Sox were going through their playoff run to the ALCS. But then I got off of that because the Red Sox did the impossible. They navigated the impossible. But largely today I'm reminded it's impossible to have your feet in both camps and succeed. Chaim Bloom was forced to do it. The Red Sox tried to do it. It's an unwinnable game when you're trying to rebuild and cost save while also win at the major league level. You have to pick a direction. Okay, and this is not just for the Red Sox. This is for teams in general. You have to pick a lane, and you may pick the wrong lane, and we may crush you for that, and it can absolutely set you back, and it can be frustrating. I totally get it. That's why teams don't want to do it. But you have to pick a lane, because when Chaim Bloom came in, he was told to cut payroll. He did that. Right? 2020 was garbage for us, right? COVID year, and they went 24-36, and they finished last, and they traded Mookie, and they got rid of Price. He trimmed the fat. Well, in 2021, he tried to come back and build a team that was still, right? Because think about 2021, and Danny said this good to me in the break, and he's right. 2021, there's still a lot of COVID losses, right? We started the year in COVID restrictions. The Red Sox could not put full crowds at Fenway, and Massachusetts and New England was very, very restrictive, even in 2021, at welcoming people back into venues and back into buildings. So we have the COVID 2020 year losses where there were no fans. Then 2021, we start out slow because we're playing. Remember, we're like at 50%, and we're like 60%, 70%. It took a long time to get a full Fenway going again. So Chaim Bloom had to ball on a budget again in 2021, and he tried to do it. And he got guys like Kike Hernandez and guys like Arroyo and, other guys out there. It was Martin Perez. It was Garrett Richards. Some guys that hit, some guys didn't. But he was still operating under a budget, a shoestring budget where he's like, okay, I got to try to win. I got to get some major league players, but I can't go and do too much craziness, right? I still got to build the farm system. So they never went all in on rebuilding. If they did, they would have traded Devers, or they would have traded Bogarts at some point. They would have traded Vasquez earlier. They would have traded Evaldi last year. They would have traded JD Martinez. If they had gone all in on a rebuild, they would have done all of that. They would have stepped back for 2 or 3 years, been really bad, stocked up the treasure chest all at once, and then really quickly been able to just go headlong into it like I keep saying my Mariners did, right? Mariners tanked 2019. Nope, it was 2018. They tanked 2018. They tanked 2019. 2020, it turned around a little bit. And then 2021, they won 90 games. So they pulled out of essentially 3 full years. But then 90 games 2021, 90 games in playoffs in 2022, and in a playoff position as we sit today in 2023. And a team that's pretty good. Right? If the Red Sox had stepped back and torn it down to studs, they could have had that. They chose not to. If the Red Sox had gone fully all in, then they could have spent more money. They could have traded away some prospects. Bloom could have just kept spending money hand over fist, and we could have had what we had with Dombrowski. They didn't do that either. Being forced to navigate, you cannot navigate both worlds. You just can't. You cannot build for the future while also winning in the now and telling me you're serious about both of them. You just can't. Right? Danny, I played 2 sports in high school, right? I played high school basketball. I played high school baseball. And I always say this. Okay, my high school was a huge high school. You kind of have to be all in at my high school. It's why my high school has so many kids specializing in sports. And we can talk about if that's good or bad, but that's the way it is. It's a huge school. To get ahead, to get on a team, you pretty much have to now play just one sport. I played both, and I'm proud of the fact that I played both. But I always say I was good at both, and I was not great at either. Had I just focused on one of them, I could have had a chance to be a 4-year starter in basketball. I could have had a chance to be the number 1 starter in baseball. Instead, I was like 6-man type in basketball, and I was like the 3 or 4 starter in baseball. I was good at both. I was not great at either, and that's where the Red Sox have found themselves. They have rebuilt the farm system enough to have exciting pieces like Casas and Rafaela and Abreu and Manuel Valdez and Bello. Right? They've done enough. And they had Whitlock down there, and they had Houck down there. So they held on to these guys, and they acquired Wong, who we're now liking this year. They acquired a lot of guys who we're excited about, and they drafted Meyer and York, and they've held on to all of them. But they still don't have like a top 3 or 4 farm system. They're not what Seattle had. They're not what Baltimore had. They're not what Tampa's had. So they have a good farm system that's a lot better, but it's not good enough for us to sit here and say, oh, they're the next Baltimore Orioles. They also have spent on Story and Turner and Jansen and Martin, but they haven't spent at the top of the market. They haven't spent every year. They haven't gotten young guys who are in their prime. They also didn't hold on to Mookie Betts. They've been good-ish at both and not great at either, and you can't run a baseball team that way. And for as fun as 2021 was, it probably gave us all a false sense of idea that you could do that, and you can't. The number one problem for Chaim Bloom is that basically he was set up to fail because the organization said, hey, trim us down in a lot of ways, but still be good. Can't do it. Not at the level we want to do it at. Not at World Series level. The Red Sox have been good enough to be fringy, interesting through the All-Star break and up to the trade deadline, but they're not good enough to get over the hump. Why? Because they haven't had the mindset. They haven't traded prospects at the deadline. If they were all in, they'd be trading guys at the deadline. They're not doing it. If they were all out, they'd be trading veterans at the deadline and getting more prospects. They haven't done it. You can't navigate both worlds. And the Red Sox tried to force Chaim Bloom into doing it, and it is an impossible battle. And after 2021, I forgot that for a bit. I remember it today. We'll talk about Alex Cora's future next on DEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. A historic indictment today against Hunter Biden, who faces federal charges stemming from a gun purchase 5 years ago. CBS's Natalie Brand has details.
The indictment alleges Hunter Biden knowingly made a false and fictitious written statement when he bought a weapon in 2018 and unlawfully possessed the gun as a drug user. The special counsel overseeing Hunter Biden's case has indicated that tax-related charges that were part of the previous plea deal could still be filed.
This comes just a day after Republicans announced an impeachment inquiry against President Biden and ahead of 2024. Political analyst Larry Sabato.
It's fueling the Republicans. It gives additional jitters to the Democrats, and it causes personal distress to the president.
If convicted, Hunter faces years in prison. Auto workers are about 6 hours away now from a possible strike. CBS's Chris Van Cleve.
11:59 Eastern Time is when the contract with United Auto Workers Union expires. If there's not a deal, we will see auto workers walk off the job. It won't be at every plant. It will be at certain targeted plants, the union says.
The union says it's still far apart in contract talks with automakers. In Georgia, a judge has separated the state's 2020 elections case. Attorney Joseph Tully.
Two people that have said, look, we're not waiving speedy trial. We want to go to trial right away. Everybody else is saying we need time to look at over all the evidence. We need time to adequately prepare. So the judge is cutting basically two of the accused loose, and they will be tried together.
Lawyers Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chesbrough go on trial next month. The biggest threat to national security in 2024 could be illegal drugs from Mexico. Homeland Security says more than 100,000 people died from overdoses last year. Hurricane Lee is barreling towards the northeast. WBZ TV's Tammy Mutasa.
South at the Cape, Sandwich is in prep mode, bracing for a hit. For first responders, three things are top of mind.
Storm surge, rain and flooding, and then the wind.
And at Plymouth Harbor, boaters aren't taking any chances, pulling in their vessels, not knowing what Mother Nature does.
Look how big it is!
A Girl Scout troop had a terrifying close call with a 14-foot alligator during a camping trip in Texas. That happened over the weekend, but the video is now going viral. Luckily, no one was hurt. And more than 130 years after creating its logo, Johnson & Johnson says it's creating a new, more modern one. This is CBS News.
When you think of hiring, think of Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring system helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all in the same place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Imagine it's the last ride, but your symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, are taking you for a ride. What should you do? Keep managing your constipation with belly pain the same old way? Or try getting ahead of your symptoms by talking to your doctor about treating it with Linzess, linaclotide. Linzess is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually.
Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling.
Imagine, what could relief from IBS-C mean for you? Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Popular boy band just got a lot of millennials very excited.
Taylor Swift asked a newly reunited NSYNC at the MTV VMAs this week.
Like, are you doing something? What's going to happen now?
Now we know. The band, including Justin Timberlake, has released its first new music since 2002. It's featured on a new trailer for the third Trolls movie, Band Together, which features Timberlake as Branch again and Anna Kendrick as Queen Poppy. The full NSYNC song will be released September 29th, but you can already find portions of it on TikTok. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Well, jury's still out on whether this is a trick or treat, but Kraft Heinz is releasing new gummies in flavors based on their best-selling foods for Halloween. You can get mac and cheese, Oscar Mayer hot dogs, or Clausen pickle flavors. They're out later this month. Monica Ricks, CBS News.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox baseball comes up 10 minutes from now. Game 2 of the doubleheader with the Yankees. Red Sox won the first one 5-0. Of course, the big story of the day is Chaim Bloom being fired after nearly 4 years at the helm of the Red Sox, 2020, 2021, 2022, and now 2023. You can get in on the text line 802-585-3026. Let's talk about how people in the organization feel. Let's start with the players first, because Cora's, I think, is more complicated. Start with the players first. First off, the players who have long-term contracts, they don't care. Like, they may like Bloom personally, but it doesn't affect them, right? Rafi Devers, he's golden. Trevor Story, he's golden. So, like, the guys at the top of the food chain, they're completely fine. The guys who are fringe guys, who were Bloom guys, I'd be more nervous if I were them, right? You're the Brennan Bernardinos of the world, the Cutter Crawford of the world. We start talking about, I'm looking down the roster here, John Schreiber, Whitlock, like these guys. Whitlock's under contract. Maybe he's a bad one, but, just these guys that were brought in as Bloom guys, or that Bloom liked and Bloom advocated for. I'd feel Pablo Reyes. Like, I'd feel a little bit more iffy if I were them. You know who I'd really, Arias. You know who I'd really be, who's really shaking today? Every Red Sox prospect. Every Red Sox prospect. Because the next guy is going to be allowed to come in and spend, and the next guy is going to be given the freedom to unstock the treasure trove a bit. I don't think it's going to be Meyer or Bayo. I don't think it's going to be those guys. But the next guy is going to be given the freedom to say, they're going to tell him, hey, all right, we've built up the farm system to good enough. Go ahead and deal a few prospects if you need to. If I'm a Red Sox farmhand today, I am worried about this. Because Bloom, it was very clear, he believed in hoarding his prospects. The next guy's not going to have to hoard the prospects. So if I'm the players, that's kind of where your three classes are at right there. Yoshida's good. Turner, Jansen, these guys have contracts or have options if they were to opt out. Turner can opt out. Jansen can't. But so that's kind of where we're at there. As far as Alex Cora goes, this is very, very interesting. And I don't know exactly how Cora feels and exactly what's next for Cora. But our friend Buster Olney put out on Twitter today, he wonders if Alex Cora could be a fit for somebody who runs the Red Sox baseball operations. Now, wouldn't that be something? Cora coming off the field and going into the front office. And I think about this from a couple different ways. One, if I'm Alex Cora, I think Alex Cora wants to manage. He has said he doesn't want to manage forever, but I don't believe that he wants to give up managing yet. That said, if the Red Sox go and hire a new boss for him, then now Alex Cora is now with another guy who's not really his choice. And does Alex Cora want to be a guy who be in another situation where he's battling with a front office type? The front office type takes a job where he has to inherit Alex Cora. That's not a great dynamic. Heck, does the new GM or new baseball ops guy want to come in and get rid of Cora? So, like, the job security for Cora as a manager isn't necessarily great. Neither is the job happiness for Cora. Because a new guy comes in, wants to clean the staff. Well, that's obviously not good for Cora. New guy comes in and is like, okay, I'll take Cora, but now they clash. That's a problem too. Does Cora want to be in that kind of relationship? Because I think he was in that kind of relationship, at least for a while, with Bloom. That's not great either. So then, how does Alex Cora get the ultimate job security? He goes into the front office. We know, as much as I talk about the ownership group pivoting and being cyclical and treating guys wrong, we know that they seem to love Alex Cora. So they very well, I would think, he's got a pretty long leash with them, and he's pretty firmly implanted in the organization. So if Cora takes the job, I think he becomes more bulletproof. He gets to go hire his guy. He gets to be off the field, have a little bit more of the family time that I know that he covets down the road as his kids get older. That very well might be the safest job for him. I don't know that he's ready for it, but it very well might be the safest job. 802-585-3026. Matt in Bolton says, longtime Sox fan and apologist. I hear you on the ownership group and their decision. They are the owners. They can do what they want. Lately, they have made correct and incorrect situations. We were spoiled with Theo. Need an experienced person next. What do you think of Cora? Well, that's what I just said, right? And that's fair. The question came in before I got to my final point there on Cora. I don't think he's ready for the job, either in terms of experience or in terms of desire, but it very well might be the safest landing for him. Because if there is somebody new brought in, you have opportunity there for a not happy relationship or no relationship at all. Texter says, get rid of Cora, please. Time for a full house cleaning. I mean, I could see that logic. I can't, right? Like, you want to just gut the entire thing and go through the rebuild that I talked about. I could see that. I don't think Cora is the problem. I think Cora and Bloom have clashed at times. I think Cora has been frustrated by where the team is at. But I do generally think Alex Cora is a good manager. And more importantly, I do also think that Alex Cora is good relationship-wise with guys on this team. Like, Devers and him are very close. And whether you like that or not, Devers has got an 11-year contract. You have to play to Devers. You have to play to your stars to some degree. And Devers and Cora get along very well. And just like Cora and Bogarts got along very well. So I think I think Cora is good at that stuff. And I think he has that kind of guidance counselor mentality here. So, like, I don't want to gut the entire thing. I think having Cora, but then let's look at it this way. This is a negative for everybody involved too. If Alex Cora is in the front office, then you have players that may love Cora that are now not as respectful of their manager. They're always running up the chain. I thought about the same thing with the Celtics, Danny, right? Like, was it going to be hard for Ime Udoka or Joe Mazzulla to do their job knowing that Brad Stevens was there? Because you have players who played for Brad, who like Brad, who can run to Brad with anything and can kind of go over the head coach's head. Now, the Celtics appear to have navigated it correctly, but could that be something with Red Sox? Could that be something that could happen with the Red Sox? I think the job security is better for Cora up top in the front office, but I don't know that that's the best dynamic for everybody either. Texter says, could Alex Cora's brother Joey be the next manager? I do not think Alex Cora would hire his brother. I do not think they would allow him to do that. That would be too much nepotism. Tex says, keep Cora top 5 manager in Major League Baseball. I think Cora is a good manager. I would like him to be the manager. Again, you don't know if another guy wants to inherit him as his manager. And that's always a tough thing, right? Guy gets hired. He wants to come in and make his own mark. He wants to pick his guy. And Cora won't be the next guy's guy. Danny, we've gone 45 minutes on Chaim Bloom. Let's dedicate our last 90 seconds to the Red Sox lineup for Game 2. Sox are 74-72. The Yankees are 73-73. Clark Schmidt pitches in this one for the Yankees, 9-8 with a 4.54. The Red Sox are going with an opener, Nick Robertson. Remember, who's the guy they got in the Kike Hernandez trade, 25 years old. He's 0-1 with a 6.06. Yankees go with more of their A-team in this one. DJ LeMahieu leads off at first. Aaron Judge is the DH. Gleyber Torres is at second. Giancarlo Stanton's in left. Esteban Florial goes from the leadoff spot to the 5 spot, and he's in center. Anthony Volpe is at short. This third baseman is Oswald Peraza. The right fielder is the youngster Osvaldo Cabrera. and Kyle Higashioka is the catcher, and he bats ninth. Cedon Rafaela plays shortstop for this one for the Sox. Devers is the DH. Verdugo's in right. He's back in the lineup. Tristan Casas is at first. Masataka Yoshida's back in the lineup today. He's in left. Wilger Abreu is in center. Pablo Reyes is at second. Reese McGuire is the catcher, and Luis Arias is the third baseman. He bats ninth. So again, Devers in that DH spot. Well, I did speak to Buster Olney earlier today, but we spoke to Buster early in the day, like 9 a.m. before Bloom got fired. So some of that interview is not useful, which is why we didn't play it. But I will put it on the podcast channel if you want to hear the rest of what Buster and I talked about, which was great. Football Friday tomorrow with Phil Perry. We'll get you ready for the Patriots 24 hours from now as they get ready for Sunday Night Football with the Dolphins. Thanks to Danny. I'll see you tomorrow on DEV.
It's time for the Mass Mutual Red Sox pregame show.